one of the biggest challenges for most people is, and I think it's in Buddhism as well, where you move away from being a label to being the person that you were meant to be, that will be able to transition through the many sort of life-changing events and things that happen, and also labels that you get to wear throughout your life.
If you've ever felt stuck or like you're constantly getting in your own way, keep listening. Today I'm talking to Gary Walden, who's a transformational change expert. In this episode, we talk about fear of failure, identity, ego, why we stay stuck, and how to finally move forward. Gary explains how the voice in your head, the one telling you that you're not good enough, is basically a full-time bullshit artist. He calls it Bob. Regardless of the name, if you're a human, you'll relate. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it. With the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, Nick Bracks, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. In this episode, we talk about how to shut up your inner critic before it wastes your life. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Gary, so nice to meet you, mate. And as this happens like so often, and I'm excited for this interview even more so now because, we were just chatting and we were both saying, shit, we should just be recording this but it happens all the time, which is always a good sign that, like there's a mutual interest here and we're connecting on things. And it's what I love about doing the podcast. So, thank you for making the time.
No, thanks for having me, Nick. And congratulations on not losing the Aussie accent. Well done.
Yeah, I know. I've been over in North America for about 5 years and it hasn't gone. My girlfriend's Canadian. I was living in Canada before the US, so it's pretty strong. I'm bad at accents. When I was doing the acting, that was my biggest struggle. My agents were always saying, okay, auditions are pretty good, but your accent's not good enough. And I couldn't nail it. I've got no ear for it. So maybe that's a good thing in keeping the Aussie accent.
Well, I haven't heard a single y'all yet.
No, it's not there. But yeah, appreciate you making the time to come on, mate. Before we jump into it, just so our audience can learn a bit more about you, can you just give like a brief background about yourself and the work you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a transformational change specialist, which means basically I work with large organizations, executives, to help people transition from where they are right now to where they need to be to continue to perform in their organizations. And then, of course, as learning that, you see how some people are really great with change. They love it. They run towards it. They go, yeah, just give me more of this, like they're adventure junkies. And then you got the other guys, the ones that are going, oh, crap, this is not for me. You are changing my world. And, these are people that will leave a job to go to a less paying job just because they feel like they're going to lose something or they're going to fail in what was their safe environment before. And so, that fear of failure is enough for them to disconnect completely from the process. And so one of the things as a change specialist is to help people go through that journey and understand that they do have the ability, they do have the capability. And part of that is, the communications, but also showing them that they have the potential to do these things. And then if they make a choice, they can jump, but it's their choice. We've given them everything that they can do. And so from there, I've jumped into a couple of books, but I probably should give you a bit of back history as well. there's been, in the book, it talks about 44 different gigs, and a different gig is a job that you've got paid for, and it's got to have a different title. So I can't be a program director more than once. So if you add all those things up, I've been a milkman, I've been a teacher, I've been a lecturer, I've been a topless waiter. Hard to believe, I get it, and the visuals you can't unsee, mate. So sorry about that.
Well, I might relaunch my underwear label, nickbracks, and we'll put you in as the new face of it, the new model for it.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
you
a bit
back.
scary. There goes your sales.
Yeah.
And so, that culmination of all of those things, of getting an understanding of my own failures, my own anxiety with those things of moving through the journey of life, and then figuring out, well, hang on a sec, what is it that I've learnt through this journey, and what can I share with others to help them that maybe they can relate to these things? And that's where the first book, Sort Your Shit Out, and the second book, Mastering the Art of Reinvention, Adapting to Life, AI, and Other Big Changes, have come from. They're very personal. They're very much about, these are the things that have been learnt from experience of working with, thousands of people, and also working with myself.
So interesting. And I love that you're doing that from, first and foremost, that firsthand experience of going the way you've lived your life and bringing that into it, because it's very hard to give people the right advice or understand it unless you've been through that. And I think it's just such an important thing. Like, we saw during COVID with the uncertainty how much people's mental health crumbled when we just did not know what was going to happen. And we sort of falsely try and, tell ourselves stories that, everything's going to go down this certain path, and we try to feel, we want to feel like we've got control over things. But when you really break it down, how much control do we really have, and how much is that holding us back from feeling free, from being the best version of ourselves? I mean, I've come a long way in that area, but I still battle a lot of it, and it's really tricky. Like, it's just, there's so many competing things at play. Your ego, fear, like you were talking about. It's just a very psychological battle to work out how can you confront these kind of, confront that kind of change.
Yeah, totally. Have I introduced you to Bob yet?
No.
Okay. So first thing is that explanation that you gave of that, you're still learning. I think I'm about 2 or 3 years older than you, but I'm still learning. And so, 60th was last year, and I'm still learning about all of these things of, how our brain plays around with, all of the things that happen to us. And this is where Bob comes in. Now, I'm not sure if you or the audience are familiar with the Blackadder, a great show many moons ago. And in that, there is a character called Bob. And so as I was sitting down writing Sort Your Shit Out, I'm trying to explain the part of the ego and the mind. And for some reason, the name Bob popped into my head, exactly like they say it on Blackadder, and I keep saying it every time. And then afterwards, I figured out that Bob is boss of our brain, or boss of brain. And what Bob's job is like a helicopter parent. Now, depending on how you want to call it, mine's called Bob, my wife's called Frau, and Frau is named that because her subconscious, or her ego, basically dissects her with German precision. Whenever she's got low confidence, it's just pulling her apart. Her daughter, my stepdaughter, Yasmina, hers is called Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada. And again, it's about those things that are, it's a loud voice. It's a voice that's sort of really confronting, that plays out in our heads. And if you think of it as like a helicopter parent, Bob's job is to keep us safe. That's all it is. And to keep us safe means keeping us emotionally, physically, and psychologically safe. And then if you think about, okay, well, how do I keep you safe? Well, I just stop you doing things. because you remember that time you failed. You remember how you felt? That wasn't great, was it? Or that time that you got really anxious because mum left you in the trolley at the supermarket while she went looking for something and you felt abandoned. Bob uses each of those little sort of scenarios and builds up a whole story around it that you're left sitting there going, excuse me, that you're left sitting there going, holy crap. Okay, so I've just had something where a partner, for example, hasn't turned back up at the restaurant when I expected them to. Bob goes, okay, in the filing cabinet of life, where's this sitting? Oh, you remember that time in the trolley? Right. We're going to react and respond in a very similar way to what we did back then, because that's our reference point. And so Bob's just doing what Bob does, and trying to keep you safe. But in doing that, overprotective parents stop you going out and living your life. And that's what Bob can do. He's great at bullshitting and telling great lies. And he'll go, you know what? Let's not go out and try that new business idea. For you and I, we were just talking previously about the challenges of acting, where it's really confronting. Let's not go to that casting, because you remember you didn't get that last one. You remember how you felt pretty shattered? I don't want you to feel that again. So let's not do it. And that's kind of the reason why I think, probably 60%, I think the research is, of people fail to go out and do or try to reach their ambitions or goals. And that's, think of the possibilities of how the world would be so much better if the fear of failure wasn't a key driver for Bob.
Oh yeah. It's I love the way you're explaining it there, mate, and it's it really helps, even looking at it through my own lens, that really helps, and it would be such a better place. And it's, I mean, you're making me think of so many examples that are just popping in my head. You mentioned, we talked about, like you said, the acting before this, and I remember when I was very first getting into the acting, I went for an audition for a short film, and I was really green at the time, and I was nervous and shy. I had no experience, no confidence in it. And I remember the girl for this short film just saying to me, she's like, "Oh, you're obviously, you're not made for this. You're never going to go anywhere." And that just stayed in my head, and brought this level of anxiety and feeling of needing to prove myself that I didn't have in, say the public speaking, for example, where I fell into that, and it was, a much more sort of organic, positive experience where I didn't have those things happen. And it is crazy how even when you try and rationalize it, these things just stay in there. It's like very hard to remove it. And yeah, it's so complicated.
It is. I mean, as I said, I'm a couple of years older than you. And, in my days of modeling, which was back in sort of when I was 20 through to sort of 30, I remember I went to a modeling agency and walked in. I'd been discovered sort of working in a restaurant, and they invited me in. And I went in, and the guy went, "Okay, your nose is too big, your ears stick out, you got a crooked smile, but yeah, you got a bit of a look." And I went, "That's still 40 years later, I can recite verbatim because Bob's gone, oh, that's not good, is it? We don't want to put ourselves in that sort of situation again." And every time I turned up to a casting, every time I turned up to a shoot, that was playing in the back of my head. I call it the not enoughs. I'm not good enough. Yeah. I'm not smart enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm just not enough. But all of the activities that we do in our lives actually proves to the opposite. But Bob's voice is so loud that he still gets the opportunity to go, just don't do it. Get anxious. Sure, you can try it, but I'm going to pull you out of there as soon as it looks like there's a chance of failure. You go, Bob, and I'm not sure whether I'll do the letters, and you can tell me whether I'm allowed to use the words, STFU. Just no. Just shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck off. You can swear on here as well.
Good. So shut the fuck up, Bob.
There you go.
And this is a really good approach to it, of being able to go, if you can separate between what your thoughts are and who you are by giving a name to this character, that's really critical, because what you can do then is you can objectively listen to the voice in your head and then balance it up against all of the experiences that you've had, and then decide to go, thank you, Bob. It's always like the Marie Kondo version of cleaning up the wardrobe. You go, thank you, Bob, for your advice. I appreciate it. And I'm now going to let you go. So shut the fuck up and get out of the road.
Yeah. That makes sense. No, it really does. So is it sort of about if you're acknowledging it like that, you can't avoid feeling the, negative emotions that will come up. So it's about being able to sort of be, I guess, brave enough to feel that, acknowledge it, rationalize it, and move forward anyway.
Totally. And, the key thing there is no avoiding feeling it.
Mm.
My wife calls me the Tin Man because many times I bottle up the emotions and they're all locked away. And that is because I don't feel that from history, Bob hasn't let me share those emotions in a safe space. He's always felt like, well, people won't love you, people won't respect you if you share those things. But the cost of that is some of the caustic behaviors that we as humans get as a result of sort of bottling all that up and never actually going, I hear you, I understand what the role of you is in this, and now I thank you and I move forward.
If you're feeling stuck, you're not alone. Most people don't realize how connected your mental health is to your body. From your gut to your sleep, movement, food, mindset. Getting active each day can shift how you feel, build confidence, and transform your quality of life. At Move Your Mind, we guide you through this process step by step. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. If you find the show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like what you mentioned earlier. It's imagine what the world would be like. And when you think about this stuff, it's sad. Like it's I think about my own life path, and I've followed what I want to do, but I've almost been the main challenges have been fighting myself every step of the way, more so than the external part. But through that journey, through the work I do, especially in mental health, I just can't count how many people I've had conversations with that have, wanted to do something. Even through this podcast, a lot of our listeners are men that are feeling stuck, and in that sort of 30 to 40 year age bracket where they're just like wanting a change, don't know how to do it, and they don't end up making the change a lot of the time. And when you think about it, it's kind of shattering to just really acknowledge how many people probably are looking back and thinking, fuck, there are all these things I wanted to do, but I just didn't do it because I felt too scared.
Yeah.
Life's too short to live it that way.
It is, but most of us do. Most of us stay stuck in a place that we know doesn't fit us properly. It's like a bad fitting suit. It might have been a good fitting suit in our 20s, and then we start to grow. Yeah, that was me. And then the suit becomes either too tight, too loose, whatever that suit is. It's not the suit that you should be wearing for this part of your life. And the hardest part, and that's why I wrote Mastering the Art of Reinvention, is that you need to be able to move beyond where you are. Because you could live in the past, but it doesn't exist anymore. We've moved on. And for me, one of my biggest flaws is I'm backwards and forwards. So I'm always looking backwards and, beating myself up, or Bob is beating myself up about the failures and the lessons learned, because he hasn't got through his failure. He hasn't got into a failure mindset where a failure is a part of a lesson and a learning to be able to go, I'm growing out of this and I'm a better human by doing this part. And then I am seriously guilty of looking forward, too far forward, into a future. But the future may never happen in the way that we want it to, and very rarely will, because it hasn't happened. And so these are dreams and hopes at this point. And I've always looked past going, okay, I need to be a squillionaire. And, I set targets of being a squillionaire. And Bob went, okay, cool, we got this. He didn't necessarily want to do the work, but he certainly wanted all of the accolades that go with being a squillionaire. And so I started to live my life a long way in the future. But then the other issue was every birthday was a celebration of failure. I could never acknowledge and celebrate my birthday, and I still have trouble today because I just went, that's a point that is a milestone of failure.
Well, thank you for being so honest with this, because it is refreshing because I think, the more we can talk about this stuff, the more we can, it's helping me even, like, because the not so much the past part, the future part, 100%, I do that, and, have had that realization, which my partner has really helped me sort of understand more of how much of my life I have lived and continue, to try and get myself out of living in fantasy, living in the future, needing to feel assurance that all of these things that I want to have happen are going to happen. And then it comes at the expense of, being present, of doing what you need to do in the present. And exactly like you're saying there, then dreading dreading getting older, because you're looking at it as this, finite thing where you're running out of time to achieve it because it's not happening how you want it. And it's a shocking mindset to be in, but I think it's very relatable as well, and something that probably so many more of us go through than we realize.
Yeah. And for me, so I have no choice, but thank you for the compliment. I have no choice but to be open and out there, because I think when I sat down to write Sort Your Shit Out and also Mastering the Art of Reinvention, I made a conscious decision that if I didn't put it out there, it wasn't authentic, and then why bother writing it? Now, it's not that I can tell you how to live your life, because we live two very different lives and we've got two very different histories, and the way we're brought up and just who we are so different. But all I can do is share advice learned from others and learned from myself. And then people will read the book and or the books, hopefully, and go, okay, great. I've picked some stuff up out of this that has changed my life. And when I hear people tell me this, that is the biggest sort of wow. You mean the things that I've put down on paper helped you, and you now have changed your life. And I get those from, both men and women, young and old. And it's pretty cool.
It's a powerful thing, mate. And I think it's amazing that you're doing that. And you can often devalue the message that you have because it's something that's so you've lived it. It's so raw inside of you. We don't necessarily realize how much other people are craving to hear that. Like I said, it's cathartic for me just listening to you talk about these things, because I relate so much, and it's already on a level helping me process certain things, just this conversation. So we really, don't know who needs to hear this, and being able to, be authentic, like you're saying, it just goes such a long way. So I think it is such an important message on so many levels that, you are doing that, and you've put these books out there and you're able to help people. We need this stuff. There's not enough of this in the world. There's not enough acknowledgement of this stuff. There's so much garbage out there. We're told, we don't really understand our own value systems a lot of the time. We're told to be a certain way. We think we need to be, making more money or whatever the hell it is, before we can actually understand who we are and what actually makes us tick inside. And it's just, it can be confusing.
Yeah, totally. So there's two things probably, or maybe more. I'll see how many fingers turn up afterwards. The first one is, this is completely outside of what I would normally do. So if you talk to my ex-wife and her husband, who are great friends still, which is great, we live around the corner and catch up on a regular basis, and my wife Azra, they will tell you, I hate talking about myself, and I'm happy to sort of help others, but the challenge of putting myself out there is a tough one for me. And so even now, Bob is in my head going, who cares about what you've got to say, Gary? Why would you share this? And what are they judging? And so when I wrote Sort Your Shit Out, The first one, I sent it over to a friend who was high up in Uber over in New York, an Australian. And I said, how's this going to go for me? You know, I've still got to earn a buck here and there. And so is the work that I do going to be threatened by it? And fortunately, she went, no, I think it's actually an important piece to put out there. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is we have this comparisonitis syndrome. And it's one of the things that really hurts us, because we may look at somebody and go, their life is just doing so great right now. Look at them. They've got the car. They've got the whatever. Holy crap, that's amazing. And this is where, of course, you know, in social, all the influencers are selling that story. But the reality is, if they are living their best life right now, that's great, because that's a point in time. There's going to be times when the facade is all they've got to go with, because behind the facade, there's a whole lot of shit happening. And, you know, one of the distinctions I make between shit and stuff is, in our world, we get bombarded with a whole lot of sort of stimuli. You know, we're made for noticing what's going on around us. We got eyes, we got ears, we got, you know, we can touch things, all those great things. And Bob's job is which ones are of interest to us and which ones threaten us. And so when Bob's doing that, that's turning, he then goes, okay, a reference point of, you might have said to me, oh, Gary, really? 60? You look at about 80. You might have joked about it, but Bob has gone, okay, I'll take that little comment. I'm going to replay it in my head. And you're looking really old right now, Gary, is the message that he will take that to. And so what you meant as a joke started off as just stuff happening around me, you know, millions of bits happening around me. He then filters it, turns it around, and turns it into shit that I then start to go, you know what? I didn't really enjoy chatting to Nick. It was pretty rude to me. Wow. Okay. We're not going to go there. Fortunately, he hasn't done that to you. You know, I think we've got a really good connection that Bob's happy to go, okay, I'm feeling pretty safe here.
Well, I was going to say the opposite, mate. I think you said you're 60. You look very, very good. You look fit. You know, you look great for your age. So
thank you,
I'd
mate.
say the complete opposite of what you're saying there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm sort of blushing a little now. So thank you.
There you go. So yeah, with this stuff, Gary, how much of it is to do with our upbringing? Because, you know, like if we're brought up in a family where we're sort of conditioned early on to be more free in our thinking and nurtured and, you know, taught, I guess, not to be as reactive, because most of us don't really get brought up like that. I don't think it's, you know, taught very strict rules. This is how things are. This is how it's not. Same as school. Is that all playing a big part in then when we're adults and having these things happen? Or some of them obviously are things that have happened when we're younger as well, but the conditioning of how we perceive things, do you think a lot of that's to do with our upbringing as well?
Yeah. And I think if you take that provides the foundations or fundamentals of the rest of your life. I'm a grunkle, which is a great uncle, to a niece and a nephew. One is called Sonic and the other one is called Scardy Nia, like zombie apocalypse names. Very cool. And watching them as they grew up, you think about that delight as a 2-year-old, just dancing freely to the Wiggles or whatever it is, and you have no awareness of what's going on around you. You're just in your own world, living your best life. You'll cry when you're feeling sad. You'll laugh when you're happy, all those things. And then an awareness comes in. And this is where Bob starts to evolve in our ego, whichever term you'd like to use. But Bob starts to evolve and then notices that maybe somebody got a little bit critical. Each of those are building the foundations of what we've got going on. So I was a shy kid, grew up in New Guinea, and at about 12 years old, I looked around and went, you know what? I don't have any friends. Okay. I'm going to create this new version of myself that is an extrovert. Now, I succeeded at it. I'm really good at chatting to people. I can be really social. I can connect. But underneath that, I am still that introvert that doesn't feel enough and has had a huge amount of trouble connecting at a much deeper level because of that going way back to as a kid and then as a 12-year-old making a conscious decision to put on a facade, put on a different suit. And it wasn't the right suit for me, but it was a suit, and I've kind of grown to get comfortable in it.
If you're feeling stuck, we get it. Most people don't realize how connected your mind is to your body. Sleep, gut health, food, exercise, it all matters. At Move Your Mind, we help you lose weight, build confidence, and reset your mindset in just 100 days. There's no extremes and no experience needed. We guide you to build simple habits and routines that will last for a lifetime. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. If you have any suggestions for new topics or guests, please send me a DM on Instagram at nickbracks. It's so interesting. So it's sort of on a level unavoidable that we're going to have, once we start interacting in the world, things are going to happen, maybe less extreme for some people, more for others, but we sort of can't avoid it because unless you don't interact in the world, how are we not going to have some form of this conditioning happen that we need to understand and, as you're saying, learn how to tell Bob to fuck off.
Yeah, because we have the life-defining or life-changing events throughout our life. And that's where mastering the art of reinvention comes in, is reinvention is there is a catalyst that's happened that we no longer fit into our old life. So we need to reinvent ourselves somehow. Now, we can either let fate take it, or we can start a process that goes, I'm going to think about how I would mold the next version of myself that is structured around the good stuff that I have learnt along my life, the stuff I want to keep. And then no doubt there's stuff that didn't work for me because I'm in this new place. Now, a life-changing event, we talk about it kind of at that trauma stress level. And I suppose I was going to use an example of winning lotto. So winning lotto, great, millions of bucks, life-changing. But with that comes a whole new lifestyle. And the person you had with your previous normal life has now got maybe family and friends hitting you up for dollars. You might move into a new house, but with that comes new habits and processes of which coffee shop do I go to? Oh man, I've never had to deal with this sort of money before. What do I do with that? So regardless of what the life-changing event is, and it could be a new job, and a new job is a really good example because you get imposter syndrome. If you're climbing the ladder, you sit there and you go, okay, can anybody else see that I'm actually shouldn't probably be in this seat? But I'm going to sit here until somebody sees through it, but I'm sitting here. It's mine. And that's one of the things of, good doesn't necessarily mean, and it definitely doesn't mean, that you're not going to have to reinvent the version of yourself again.
Yeah, that's such an important point. That makes so much sense, and it is going to come into every facet of life. So if we don't sort of acknowledge that, it's going to just make everything so much harder. And I guess, is there a liberation when we do acknowledge this stuff? Because I guess that perfectionistic side where we're trying to find the right thing to do and, whatever it is, when we realize, like you're saying, and you hear about people that have won the lottery and then they lose most of it or they become depressed, they become worse off than beforehand. Is sort of, would there be a liberation for people when we can accept there's no perfect scenario, so then I'm actually free to try and go down a path that I want to do, because whatever the path is, it's going to have pros and cons and ups and downs, and there is no perfect solution anyway, so why not just go for it?
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What do you do, Nick?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I run a mental health fitness company. I public speaking. I work in the entertainment industry a little bit, etc.
Okay.
However you meant to. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the answer. Sorry, I threw you under the bus there.
No, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I was asking was what your identity is. And so when we often ask that question, people will go, I'm a CIO, or I'm a CEO, or I'm a pilot. And that's what they've built their whole world around, is an identity, which is an external component to who they are. And it
Totally.
avoids getting into way deeper of, okay, well, I'm actually a good person. These are the things that are important to me. These are the values and beliefs that I hold true. These are the things that I'm not so proud of in myself, but I'm okay with that. And so one of the biggest challenges for most people is, and I think it's in Buddhism as well, where you move away from being a label to being the person that you are meant to be, that will be able to transition through the many sort of life-changing events and things that happen, and also labels that you get to wear throughout your life. And if you think about it, we start off as kids, and then we become teenagers, and then we get our first job. And each of those is a label that we end up wearing. And depending on how we perceive that is how much pride and emphasis and weight we put on that label.
Yeah. And it's funny how uncomfortable it is to even think about trying to answer it without the label. Like you sort of, so would that be examples like what you're saying there, if you're answering, I'm whatever your value is, or what you're seeing yourself as innately as a human, like what are some other examples people would say for that if it was done on the very detached level from trying to be your job or whatever? What would be examples of how?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What would be examples of how people can answer, who
Ah,
they are without attaching it to the external?
and that's a really tough one, because when I asked you, and I specifically asked you that question, and I've had to
Yeah.
learn to adapt that, is because I can cover at a superficial, small talk thing by just saying, so what do you do? And you'll go, oh yeah, I'm a brickie or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I say, what's important to you? What makes you tick? Now we're
Mm.
starting to go, and it's almost like, have you ever done and I'm sure you would have, the 2-minute eye stare?
Yes, I have.
And it's confronting, isn't it?
Massively. Yeah, you're desperately wanting to look away. You want to avoid it at all cost, and you can't. You got nowhere to hide. Yeah, it's very
Correct.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so when I ask you that sort of question, where it's a deeper question, the challenge for you and me is that I now have to reveal some of myself into an environment that I'm not so familiar about how safe I am. And so Bob's running around in the head going, okay, what are we going to do? Walls up, walls up, walls up. Okay, yes, I'm a brickie. Yes, that's the most important thing to me. I do love my bricks. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, yeah, massively, and I think we probably don't even actually know a lot of the time because we just haven't spent the time to get it to know ourselves well enough to truly understand that. Like when it's just been identity and label after label and trying to, be all these different things we don't even fully know.
No, and quite often, I'm loving this, by the way, because we're getting into the really deep stuff. If you take, for example, getting a role model. A role model is somebody that you look up to and go, yeah, all of those things are fantastic. And then we start to evolve and start to emulate those things. The problem is, if we are emulating verbatim, exactly as they do, then we're not being true to us. And the art of life is really art. You and I could paint the same picture, and I'm looking at the great picture behind you. We could paint the same picture, we could paint the same subject, but end up with a completely different picture. You will think yours is wonderful, and I won't think mine is wonderful if Bob lets me. But we have started with the same subject, and we ended up in two different places, and rightly so, because our experiences are unique to us. And so that's the real challenge, is knowing that, yes, we can have role models. Yes, we can go and do and look for case studies and scenarios that are similar to ours, They are the only thing they can ever be is similar. They can't be the same. And if we try and replicate somebody else's life point by point, then we're going to feel that feeling of fraud and fakeness.
It never works. Yeah,
No.
exactly. And if I think about that, in my own life, whenever I've been in that state and you're trying so hard, you're trying to be this thing you think you should be or do what these other people have done, it just feels like getting blood out of a stone and, it doesn't end up working, like you're saying. But it's
Hmm.
when you sort of just let go and you're not even necessarily trying to be or do or achieve anything, that's when all these unexpected things happen. And you're like, and then you get in the cycle of, oh, how do I replicate that? And then you go back in the pattern, the mistake of trying to try too hard. So it's like, it's so tricky. It's like
Yeah.
finding that balance is very, very hard to stay in for, long periods.
Yeah. And one of the things I think for me is just that continual focus on being present. Because
Yeah.
when I'm doing that, oh, I remember that time it worked really, really well. Yeah, sure, we can start to try and get the lessons learned out of it and apply them. But if I keep going and measuring back on that, I don't grow, firstly, because I'm living in the past a lot. But I'm also not present. So no wonder
Yeah.
it doesn't feel authentic to me because I'm living a past life or a future life.
Yeah, it's so true. So it's just, there's no way around it. You're just not going to be able to be operating in that zone unless you do just become more present and catch yourself, I guess, and keep trying to really challenge yourself to go, put yourself in that vulnerable feeling of just being present, not trying to control everything.
Yeah. And I actually probably, can I just jump in around a little bit there? I'm
Yep.
going to anyway because I asked the question.
Please do.
Is, we've gone pretty deep today on a whole heap of things. And one of the parts to reinvention, yes, there's things such as, accepting that change is going to happen and stop trying to fight it too much because it's happening. Doing a reality check to figure out what it is that's working for you and not working for you. Empowering yourself by looking for ways to learn from others, learn from situations and grow as a result of it. Action, do something, because quite often that fear of failure puts us into that paralysis analysis side of things. And we're just left there going, oh man, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then this one's the biggie. Try again,
Mm.
because we're stepping into a new world. We're stepping into something that's unfamiliar, because otherwise we wouldn't be going through reinvention or change. So when we do that, because it's not familiar, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to take missteps. We're going to take wrong turns. And what Bob can do is, if we hit a roadblock, instead of saying turn around and go back and find the next route, Bob can go, okay, let's just stop here. This is
Yeah.
safe. It's like the fight, flight, or freeze. It's the freeze. I'm just stopping here and I'm not doing anything else. And so that, I think, is one of the key parts, is accepting that failure is part of life and learning out of life is part of growing.
Yeah.
And then the last one, this is the biggie, the one I have trouble with, which is enjoy. And the reason I wanted to touch on this is because when we get into deep stuff like this, it gets pretty dark and it gets really deep. And the emotional and psychological parts of us start to overthink and play stuff through. We need the valve to release the pressure sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's where humor comes in. Enjoying, having a laugh. The way I've written the books is,
Yeah.
it's a combination between dark and light. I want you to laugh, but I want you to understand the messaging that this is something that is quite deep and serious, but I package it in a sort of humorous way so that it's not as confronting. And, I probably learnt that one from watching Mum die from cancer. We're lying there. She's in bed, doped up to the eyeballs. And we laughed. We
Mm.
laughed many times. We had great laughs along the journey to her passing. And that was so critical to help us go, not only let go some of the pressure, but continue to connect at those multiple levels so that it was such a special passing that we were all there with her. And that's why I never discount what humor can do to take the pressure off, and give us the opportunity to look at things with a fresh perspective instead of always that darkness that hangs behind our eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, really beautiful example there. Thank you for sharing that, and it is so true because we need to do this stuff, but I get stuck in that a lot of the time where I'll get it'll feel too heavy, and you're sort of not able to find the joy in things because you're putting so much pressure on things, and you just explode if you don't allow yourself to just lighten up a little bit within that, and you can't stay in that heaviness for too long. If you feel like you've lost control of your health physically or mentally, Move Your Mind is here to help you. We guide you through weight loss, lifestyle change, and resetting your mindset without any extremes or overwhelm. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you find this show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps.
And it may be, in my case, laughter is part of our family language. It can get pretty strong and caustic, and Bob was able to build a whole heap of shit out of the jokes that my dad would throw at me or my mum would throw at me, and go, that's the not enoughs. But it doesn't necessarily, if you don't come or don't have what you believe is a great sense of humour, it doesn't mean go out and try to be a stand-up comedian. It is find the things that you enjoy. Life's too short. Yep. Mine is surfing. So if I need to get away and just spend some time and rebalance and regroup, I go for a paddle. Once I get out through the breakers, which is about a 3-hour paddle for me, I get out there and I sit out the back of the wave, and I just, all I can focus on is my next wave. And all of a sudden, brilliance comes to me. My brain is now released of all the pressure that I'd put up there. And I can sit there and go, holy crap, why didn't I think of that before?
So true.
It could be those sorts of things, activities versus, having a laugh, just doing the pressure release.
So true, mate. And yeah, it's funny with those kind of things because they're exactly what we need in those moments. But when you're stuck in that state, they're often the last thing that you get yourself to do. You sort of try and think your way out of things, and it just never works. So I love that example, going and doing whatever it is. Remind yourself what you enjoy and just go do it. Break things up, and you'll find, clarity and a solution a lot faster.
Yeah. I mean, there is a difference between procrastination and taking a break and giving yourself that. And that's, again, that Bob playing that focus of, let's just keep you spinning around on the same spot, because if I do that, you're not going to move forward and fail. You fail by not doing, but I can pretend that that's not the case.
Yeah, that makes sense. And can you go, we're talking at the very beginning about the fear of confronting things, making change, whatever. Can it go too far the other way where someone might be like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for everything, but then your life becomes an absolute mess and chaotic because there's no filter with it anymore. It's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm going to do anything and everything. And, you end up creating a complete mess. Can that happen?
Yeah, it can. Totally.
That side of it?
Yeah, you can become the change adrenaline junkie. And
so you can almost get addicted to the other side of it if you go too far.
Yeah, well, I'm somebody that's had 44 was in the book, but it's actually 46 different gigs. If you want to see fear in my eyes, offer me a full-time job with holiday pay and superannuation.
Same to me, mate. I'd rather be in prison.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it actually does feel like. Even though the jobs we do are pretty much the same as the jobs we would do as a full-time employee, we get stuck in this mindset that I need to be my own person. Nick, I've got choices and freedom, and hang on a sec, I've got mortgages, I've got payments, I've got life. Am I not doing the same thing everybody else is doing?
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Oh well, thank you for sharing all of this, mate. It's been so valuable. Where can our guests, if they want to purchase your books, they want to learn more about you, where can we send them?
Yeah, sure. Obviously on Amazon and bookshops there, all good bookshops, but also GaryWalden.com. So
Easy. Okay.
if you want to come out and hang out in the digital space with me, please do. Would love to hear from you and love to chat. And of course, all the socials.
Awesome. Well, we'll have the links in the show notes, so make sure to check all of that out, buy the books, have a look at everything that, your work's amazing what you're doing. I know you're helping so many people. So yeah, thank you again for coming and, talking to my audience through this, and it'll be very valuable for them. We finish every episode with 5 closing questions. So these can be sort of just whatever answer comes to mind for you.
I'm going to
throw you in the deep end here.
Yeah.
First one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind for you?
Interesting question, Nick. You thought it was going to be a quick answer. I actually don't remember my childhood in New Guinea at all. It's like a film that plays in my head. And for whatever reason, Dad will say, we grew up in New Guinea. And I'll go, we grew up in New Guinea? How cool is that? Because it is a painted picture of the stories I've been told. So sorry about that. That should have been quicker than that.
No, it's interesting.
Sailing or fishing.
Yeah. But so your mind sort of blocked a lot of that out. It's just hard
it has. It's built a whole scenario around it.
Interesting. It's crazy how the mind works.
I've spent a whole heap of time with psychologists, a lot of different psychologists, trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to be normal? I've now accepted I'm not normal. I actually really want to be weird because that's cool. That's where the real coolness happens.
Mate, I like the weirdos. I'm a complete weirdo, and there you go. We can be friends.
We can be friends.
I like it.
All right, question 2 before we go too deep again.
Moving on, yeah. What do you think is currently the biggest burden on mental health in society?
Comparisonitis, I would say.
Yeah.
We're comparing, and especially, well, there's 2 things there. Sorry, comparisonitis, number 1, because we are bombarded with images of what perfect looks like, and there is no perfect. There is just you, and you don't want to be normal, but Bob tries to tell us to be normal. And then the second one is the challenge of AI on our roles within our own lives, and that's coming pretty quickly towards us.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. Who knows where that stuff's going to go, but yeah, I think
it's terrifying, but it's also got so many great opportunities. Think about the things that we can do that we were never able to be. I can be creative for a change. I can go and do, without having to hire a consulting firm, I can do a whole strategic plan. These are things that I can do without having to spend the big bucks that I would have had to spend moons ago.
Totally. It's almost hard to imagine already, just how, we didn't have ChatGPT before.
Correct.
A couple of years ago, because it's makes everything so much easier. So it really is true.
No?
What would you say is your personal definition of happiness?
The ability to be present. Because I've chased happiness in finance, I've chased happiness in affairs, I've chased happiness in a whole range of things. And the only thing that I can really, none of those fed the beast of happiness.
Yeah.
So by being content and present now is my definition of happy, and the farm that we live on. That's pretty cool.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good way to feel peace of mind and happiness. So, no, but so true. I love that. That's a great answer. If you could go back and give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that be?
You're enough.
Yeah, I love that.
Now, problem is he wouldn't have listened. Because Bob wasn't ready to let him listen.
Yeah.
And this is where the work that you do is so important, to help people challenge the thought process that they already have that keeps them stuck in not being enough. And I could pretty much say nearly everybody And even the people that seem to exude a squillion bits of confidence, they're masking the not enoughs by being louder and more assertive in their confidence. It's not something that, it's part of humanity. And so you can't avoid it. At one point or another, you're not going to feel enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. No matter who you are, we're all human, and that's the thing. We all feel very similar things. So it's so important to remind ourselves that.
Yeah.
I love that answer. Well, final one, mate. What are you most proud of?
Helping people. I never knew I would be, but those stories are what really resonates with me and feeds my soul.
I love it. Well, you definitely are helping people. You've helped me, mate, having this chat, and you'll help our listeners. So, yeah, thank you for, being so open, for the work you're doing, and just making the time to come and have this chat. Appreciate it.
No, enjoyed hanging out. We'll have to do it again soon.
We will, mate. I'd love to. Thank you so much.
All right, Nick. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Gary Walden, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thank you for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave me a comment or send me a DM. Your feedback is always appreciated. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.